Welcome. This is Kristin Goodrich, KG. I am the XO at Planting Roots, which means serve as the Deputy Director. And I'm just excited to be able to introduce to you the ministry and the work of Officers Christian Fellowship. OCF has chosen to sponsor this, be sponsors of this event for Strength to Thrive by military women for military women. And so we wanted to give the folks at OCF a chance to describe the ministry and the work that they do. And so I'd like to send that to you, Tami. Tami Waring is an Air Force veteran, and she's a volunteer who works within the Officers Christian Fellowship staff and team. So tell us a little bit about OCF and tell us maybe some of the ways that OCF and Planting Roots overlap in the work for the military community.
Sure, thanks, Kristin. Yeah, OCF is a ministry that started back about over just 75 years ago. The British were trying to, they had an organization called Officers Christian Union that they had started, and during World War II, some women were praying that the Americans would get on the ball and start a ministry. So Officers Christian Union started in the United States right after World War II, but union has kind of a bad connotation in our, well, a different connotation in our society. So the name was rather rapidly changed to Officers Christian Fellowship. So OCF is mostly a member-driven organization, meaning that we have just a few staff out in the field, and we have a few staff in our home office in Littleton, Colorado. And most of the work, though, is done by the member out in the field. So that's uniformed members or retired veterans, family members even do a lot of the ministry of OCF. So emphasis is on officers so that we can reach the leadership of the military, and then with the idea that the leadership would reach the entire military society. So every Bible study that we've been a part of, we've had all ranks in our Bible studies when we've had our different fellowships. So it is, while it is called the Officers Christian Fellowship, the whole idea is to reach out to the entire military society. So I think how we partner along with Planting Roots is because we are military and we're Christian, whereas Planting Roots is military Christian women. So we are very much alike in what we're trying to do with our ministries, although we would encompass the entire military society. OCF in the past few years has been trying to reach the membership a little bit more closely. So we've been trying to equip our leaders to go out and do the work within their spaces in the military. And so we're excited to just be able to do that with women and men and all different kinds of people that are in the military society.
Right, so with OCF, there's definitely an encouragement of fellowship at a local installation, whether you're permanently assigned there or you're transiting through. There's that fellowship of coming together for Bible study and whatnot. And again, like I said, it's not limited to women only, whereas the focus and the direction that Planting Roots goes for is specifically women in the military community. You are encompassing both with a fellowship mindset, whereas not that Planting Roots isn't doing fellowship, but we are doing it resourcing and community in many ways through the digital realm, not exclusively, but primarily through that. We both have resources that we like to offer, and currently this year in Planting Roots, our annual theme is taken from the book of Nehemiah, chapter 2, verse 18, and the tagline we're using is Rise Up. That's a universal call to action for all believers. We see that as women, whether we're in uniform or as a wife or some combination thereof, or some other role within the community, that women will need to rise up. Are there some ways that OCF has been sort of following and experienced that opportunity and answered that call to rise up? Can you tell us a little bit about something in that realm?
Sure. One of the ways that comes to mind is that we just renewed some of the infrastructure at our conference centers. So OCF owns 2 conference centers, one in Pennsylvania and one in Colorado. And so we built a new conference center building in Pennsylvania, and then we also built a several lodges at the one in Colorado. And now I think the reason this meets the Rise Up is because when we went into building these and resourcing to build these, we thought that maybe we would get some large corporate donors or things like that. But what actually ended up happening was the membership of OCF rose up and funded those buildings, which was just really amazing. So it was no huge gift that was given, but the membership itself rose up, which was really exciting to see. Another one, again, is along those lines of rise up in meeting the needs of our members and trying to reach out to them and see what's going on out in the field so that we can encourage people, like you said, to get together in those fellowships. And so the way that people can do that through OCF is from our web page. We do have a directory, and people can find each other based upon where you might be stationed. Now, there's not an OCF at every location. That totally depends on the member, whether the member, again, is willing to rise up and be the one puts their hand in there and says that they'll host or lead or facilitate a fellowship or a Bible study.
Right. Well, I love that picture that it's a both and of your first example of rising up is to have built these new, literally build walls that made lodges and conference centers come to fruition, come to life. But it was because of lots of bricks that were supported by individuals within the organization. And then likewise, there's that continued call for developing those relationships forward is to have that fellowship, to do it alongside one another, do this hard work of military living next to each other. And that's what that principle of using the website to find others like-minded in the city or the post or whatever, that you could come alongside and work together to continue to rise up, to encourage, to give out, but also receive in that body of believers within the military community experience. So I think that's really tremendous. Is there anything else that you would like our listeners to know about Officers Christian Fellowship or our connection within to Planting Roots? Is there anything else you'd like to wrap up with sharing?
Well, we are a member organization where we do have membership, but that isn't as important as just getting people involved in ministry at your different base or post, or if your family is, or your family or a single person, you're free to come to the conference centers. Over the summer, we have special programs, week-long programs where there's a speaker and there are different activities going on, and it's just a great time. And the emphasis on those weeks at both conference centers is to the military, particularly. And so that's a very exciting thing to do.
Absolutely. So on a personal note, I've been the beneficiary of going to those locations over a 30-year plus time span. And there is something about having a fixed location within this military life that you can go back to just revisit and continue to grow and measure sort of the growth of the tree or the growth of your spiritual walk by being present in those conference centers, and especially enjoying the programs that OCF offers are always going to be through the lens of Christian and then with the military audience in mind. As we know, it can be quite frustrating if somebody says that they did a 5-minute research on military life and now they're able to speak on it. It's not the same as having walked and lived it. And those are the folks who are speaking, giving the instruction or the topics, but they're also the same people that are serving you your meals, or they are the ones that you visit with around a campfire or whatever. And that is just really that building that community of military folks to, especially with the mindset of faith-based spiritual component, is just really tremendous, which is why Planting Roots is very excited to have OCF, Officers Christian Fellowship, sponsor for this Strength to Thrive conference that we're having at this time. So with that, I just want to thank you, Tami. Thank you first for your service in the Air Force, for your family's continued service. You guys walked an Air Force career, you and your husband and children, and some of them have continued then continue military service going forward. So we thank you for that generation of that, and we thank you. We're glad that OCF has been a resource and a tool full of excellent guidance and instruction to live out that more fruitfully and more effectively. So thank you for that, to you, Tami, specifically, and as well to the OCF organization. And we, as Planting Roots, appreciate the support of Officers Christian Fellowship. Check them out on their website. You'll be glad you did. Thanks so much. God bless.